Next story, Mike Adams, Natural News. DHS excuse for buying billions of rounds of ammo exposed as yet another blatant lie. Responding to a letter from Senator Tom Coburn, the Department of Homeland Security, an agency that has no business being armed in the first place, says it's buying billions of rounds of ammunition in order to significantly lower costs. It's all about saving money, you see. And of course, this DHS response is actually weeks old. In fact, I think it's from back in February, but it's only being reported by the mainstream media in the past couple of days, who are again regurgitating it with absolutely zero inquiry as to its accuracy whatsoever. Because we've said it a million times on this show. I've written it in my articles probably a dozen times now or more. The DHS is primarily buying hollow point rounds. They're twice as expensive as full metal jackets. So if you believe the baloney argument that this ammo is being bought to save money, then why are they buying bullets that cost twice as much? Because the DHS tells us that the bullets are for training purposes only. So why, if you want to save money, are you training with bullets that cost twice as much money? You could just as easily use full metal jacket and save half the amount of money. So their explanation, buying in bulk to save money, just doesn't wash. No one's asking that question, and no one seems to be answering it, despite the efforts of now 15 plus congressmen who have tasked Big Sis with attending a congressional hearing to give answers, which she's refused to do. Janet Napolitano, of course. So, you know, just like the leftist websites that claimed, based on one glib statement by a DHS official, that they debunked the entire conspiracy theory about Homeland Security bullet buys, this again is going to be regurgitated by the media to say, oh, they've already answered the question. Well, no, their response only increases the amount of questions that we're asking, because they haven't addressed the main fact, which is they're not saving money because the bullets they're buying cost twice as much as standard firing range training bullets that they could be buying. So Homeland Security, again, is not being honest with the American people, just as they lied about the safety of, you know, the X-ray body scanners for years before being forced to remove them. It appears that they're lying once again. Moving on now to global news. Islamic cleric issues fatwa permitting rape of Syrian women. Another Islamic cleric has gone public to announce a fatwa that permits US-backed FSA rebels to rape non-Sunni women in Syria as part of a, quote, sexual jihad that has seen girls as young as 14 transported into the country to service the need of anti-Assad militants. And this concerns a report out of Human Events where a Jordanian sheikh, and whatever gives him the right to say this, God only knows, has basically come out and said that it's perfectly acceptable for the Obama-backed terrorists in Syria to abduct and rape all non-Sunni Syrian women. So you're talking Christians, you're talking Alawites. If you're an FSA militant, you can just have your way with them, apparently, because this Jordanian sheikh says it's morally acceptable. And as CNS News reported last week, girls as young as 14 are being sent to Syria from other Middle East and North African countries, following a call by a different sheikh, a Saudi scholar named Mohammed Al-Afiri, for rebels to engage in, quote, sexual jihad, a so-called temporary marriage that amounts to little more than sex slavery. These are the rebels that your tax money is paying for. Now they're actually transporting in 14-year-old girls for them to rape. And this Saudi sheikh, this other sheikh, say that it's morally acceptable as part of a sexual jihad. Completely backwards, asinine, Stone Age thinking, and yet it's going on. Mainstream media dares not even talk about it. And is it any surprise? I mean, they're still being portrayed by the mainstream media as freedom fighters, yet they can't even maintain the sanctity of their own extremist, fundamentalist beliefs. So, you know, they decry all the infidels as being morally bankrupt for refusing to sign up for their Sharia law, and yet they're the ones raping children. And they call people who oppose them infidels, and they're the ones raping kids. Try and get that through your head. And the fact that it's all being paid for, $500 million now, with your tax dollars. 1 million died from Afghan heroin drug production, 40 times higher since NATO op. This is a report out of Russia Today. Heroin production in Afghanistan increased 40 times since NATO began its war on terror in 2001. The head of Russia's Federal Drug Control Service stated, adding that more than 1 million people have died from heroin from Afghanistan since then. And this is Viktor Ivanov, who gave a conference on the drug situation in Afghanistan and said that since Operation Enduring Freedom began, over $1 trillion has been invested into transnational organized crime from drug sales. And this report details how just 1/100th of opium fields in Afghanistan have been eradicated compared to coca bushes in Colombia. And as we've seen on Fox News, the opium fields are not being eradicated in anything like the numbers that they should be, because they're being guarded by British and American troops. All the money from the drug trade is being laundered by giant transnational banks. This is a quote out of the article. Alongside the refusal to get rid of the poppies, there is the apparent interest of international banks in dirty money, states the report. The head of Russia's drug enforcement suggested US and European banks tacitly welcome and, quote, encourage the inflow of drug money. Well, you mean like HSBC, which allowed almost $1 trillion to be laundered through its system by Mexican drug dealers, and basically they got a slap on the wrist. Opium cultivation in Afghanistan has increased 657% since the US military invaded the country, according to the UN's own figures. And it hasn't happened by accident. It's about reinstating the Golden Crescent drug trade run by the CIA, which of course is just one of the many goodies that they got as a result of 9/11. And of course, as we reported in the past, Hamid Karzai's brother was publicly running the opium trade in Afghanistan with the record shipments going out of the country to Europe, to America. He was also on the payroll of, you guessed it, the CIA. Just a coincidence. But of course, this is, business as usual for an agency that launders the drug money through the mega banks, and then the mega banks get merely a slap on the wrist for doing so because they're tied at the hip. And now they're saying 1 million dead. I mean, that figure seems hard to believe, but this is what this new conference is saying. 1 million dead from Afghan heroin since 2001. That's the death toll at its raw. And that's coming out of a Russian conference that took place recently, reported by RT. So there you have it. I mean, the CIA, again, are the biggest drug dealers in the world, and the big banks that launder the money for them continue to do so and continue to get away with it. Obama senior advisor laments Drudge Report effect on the news. This is out of the Washington Examiner. During a Playbook breakfast event with Politico's Mike Allen's White House senior advisor Dan Pfeiffer lamented the effect of the Drudge Report on the news cycle. So let's go to this clip.
And so, but the example being that that anyone saying anything can get caught up in the spin cycle in a way that is very damaging. It hurts what we're trying to do on a daily basis, but also is very damaging to that individual person.
So there you see more kind of mealy-mouthed nonsense. On the one hand, he tries to portray Drudge as being discredited and not a serious source of news. But then on the other hand, he admits that it's damaging to the Obama administration's rhetoric. Well, here's a newsflash for Dan Pfeiffer. Drudge drives more traffic than Twitter and Facebook combined. So you better believe that it's going to be damaging to your propaganda. And in a world of, castrated corporate state media who regurgitate White House talking points without question, America is fortunate that Drudge continues to dominate these very same mainstream media outlets, because his success relies on the fact that he's talking about issues that huge numbers of Americans truly care about, not the fluff and nonsense obsessed about by the alphabet networks. That's why he continues to have success. His traffic continues to climb. And of course, we're very fortunate at Infowars.com that he continues to link to our articles So no wonder why, again, the Obama White House is attacking the Drudge Report. Final story tonight. Report: third of U.S. West Coast children hit with thyroid problems following Fukushima. This is Anthony Gucciardi out of Natural Society. Still think that the Fukushima nuclear meltdown of 2011 never affected the United States public. Young children born in the United States West Coast, right in the line of fire for radioactive isotopes, have been found to be 28% more likely to develop congenital hyperthyroidism than infants born the year before the incident. The study followed children born in California, Alaska, Washington, Hawaii, and Oregon between 1 and 16 weeks after the horrific meltdown at Fukushima back in March 2011. Published in the Open Journal of Pediatrics by researchers affiliated with the Radiation and Public Health Project, the information further lends credence to previous documentation regarding the way in which radioactive fallout ended up on US soil. And this, of course, follows the report that came out in February that 44% of children in Japan have thyroid abnormalities in the aftermath of Fukushima. And it's going to take years before we know the full extent of the damage. Remember, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster caused nearly 1 million cancer deaths worldwide, according to the New York Academy of Sciences. So again, it turns out that the conspiracy theorists were right. You know, as the governments across the world raised safe radiation levels and told you that nuclear fallout was nutritious, not to worry about it, turns out not to be the case. And one of the solutions that I use, and in fact, I've been taking it since Fukushima happened, and basically every day since, I haven't stopped, is potassium iodine, which of course is the liquid form of that substance. It's different from potassium iodide, which should only be taken in the imminent event of nuclear fallout. But it's actually a health supplement, easily obtainable, and it has numerous different benefits, but the main one is working to reduce the levels of radioactive iodine uptake in the thyroid, which of course helps to prevent the development of thyroid cancer. So it's a shame that all those parents on the west coast of America didn't pay attention to the reports of the nuclear fallout coming across from Fukushima across the Pacific Ocean, of course, getting in the tuna, getting in the fish, because if they did, their kids might not now be getting this debilitating illness. So again, the moral of the story is don't believe the crazy conspiracy theorists. Nuclear fallout is good for you. It's nutritious. Trust the government. Trust them that you can survive just by sticking your head in the sand and not paying attention. Stick around, because after the break, we've got an exclusive interview with Syrian activist Syrian Girl about the latest developments in the war-torn country and how the Obama administration continues to back Salafist, extremist, jihadist, Al-Qaeda terrorists in Syria. So stay tuned for that interview. We'll be right back.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and "Come and Take It" on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller "Come and Take It" t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired, like I am, of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants. So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.